What is life's biggest trap people fall into?
Nice.
Debt. The poor pay interest. The rich collect interest. I don't disagree with you completely, because I don't live under a rock. But I'd also say the patient collect interest and the impatient accrue debt. I'm a privileged young guy. But my father, who was born poor, taught me not to be an eternal victim. Failing to move beyond your past. I've seen this everywhere I go, and certainly in my extended family over the years. Basically, depending on who you are. But for many of us, life punches you in the mouth. Past issues and injustice like the shortcomings of one's parents, growing up poor, failed marriages, or even feeling like you failed your own children are examples of what can keep people completely stuck in their tracks. If they cannot let go of the pain. My uncles and aunts who are addicts, poor, alone, etc. all share one thing: the inability to reconcile problems from their past, stemming mostly from fractured relationships with their parents and severe poverty in their case. My cousins who have the same issues. 2 out of 3 were born with learning disabilities and never moved beyond the feeling that they were dumb and didn't belong in a classroom. Neither graduated high school. Many of us have been hurt, born into bad situations. Whatever. One characteristic that makes some people more successful than others in this situation is the ability to let go of their pain. If you won't do it, you cannot find the inspiration and drive you'll need to achieve personal success. I was having a conversation about this just the other day. I had a bad childhood. But when things go wrong, I don't say it's because my dad beat me as a child that this happened to me. At some point you have to take what you were given and make a life out of it. If you don't, pretty soon all of life will be a trigger. If I could gold you, sir, I would. But alas, my pocket is empty. Edit. Thank you, Reddit stranger, for the gold. My first ever gold. Damn. If your dad didn't beat you as a child, you'd be able to give gold. Anything they do because they are supposed to. No. You don't have to get married. No. You don't have to have kids. No. You don't have to have all the newest everything to keep up with the Jones. People need to figure out what they want out of life and go for it. Don't do it because you're supposed to. I remember I had this huge epiphany when I met my high school biology teacher. Her intro on the first day was, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Blank. Yes, I'm married to Mr. Blank, taught at the same school. We have lovely animals at home, and we chose not to have any children." Me, wait. You don't have to have kids. Well, no you don't, but you should take the time to think about it before making a decision like that. It was like the dawning of a new era for me. I went home and exclaimed to my mom, "I'm never having kids. Ever." Well, no you don't, but you should take the time to think about it before making a decision like that. I think you should think harder about the decision to have children. College. It's really not for everybody. If it's not, then why go into so much debt? YESSS. I know so many smart, capable, awesome people with expensive degrees that are working service industry jobs and really struggling under the weight of college debt. It is crazy that we as a society expect young people to not only know what they want to do for a career as soon as they turn 18, but also undertake huge debt that will affect them well into adulthood. There should be way more emphasis on trade schools as opposed to a traditional 4-year degree in this day and age. More emphasis on trade schools as opposed to a traditional 4-year degree in this day and age. But what about the student loan industry? What will those companies do if people stop getting student loans? Thinking that you have to achieve everything and that life is about constantly progressing. Sometimes it's nice just to maintain status quo for a bit. Interesting. Because I was going to say that stagnating in life is a trap. Reddit, of course. But that's where boobs are. Username checks out. I don't know if it's the biggest, but alcohol is a pretty big one. I pried myself free of that trap recently. Wasted more than a decade to it. I'm 34 now, and I feel like I'm starting my life over again right before the alcohol took over. I'm a 34-year man that feels like I haven't developed personally or professionally since I was 22. That realization has caused my life to take a hard right turn into adulthood. I will be in a much better place before I'm 40 because I gave up alcohol. I don't mean to ask anything inappropriate, but how much were you drinking before you stopped? Do you think a few drinks a week are alright? If you are enjoying the video, please give a thumbs up and leave a comment. People think they have to be motivated to do something. They get a burst of motivation to start something and never finish it. Thousands of hours and dollars flushed into something waiting on their inspiration that'll never get finished. I hike Stephen King forces himself to write a bit every day. That always inspired me to tread through the hard parts. Anyone can start something. A bit dude said to give up writing if you don't do it for 6 hours a day. Whatever, ya try hard grrm. I feel like people rush into marriage and kids because society tells you that that's the natural course your life must take. And then people end up with a mortgage and kids and feel miserable. I pretty much decided that I'm 27. I don't want kids, and if I get married at some point, great. But it really removed a lot of stress from my life. I can focus on things I actually want to do now. Someone else said this. I have never been pressured to have kids. Maybe people just don't think I should reproduce. Are you male or female? It also depends. Cause my mom pressures me very subtly with these. My 6 rats are the only grandkids I'll ever have. And joking about marrying rich because I just can't seem to find a job may seem harmless, but she's been joking like this since I was very young, so it's a total microaggression thing. Staying in their comfort zone rather than extending themselves to try new things and grow as a person. True. My comfort zone used to be sitting at home, alone, on my days off. Now, I'd much rather go out and explore the world. I'm still alone, but I'm looking for someone to explore life with me. My comfort zone is no longer at home. Now, I'd much rather go out and explore the world. I'm still alone, but I'm looking for someone to explore life with me. This perfectly describes my life and what I want at the moment. Don't know if this counts as a trap, but having the mindset ingrained into you, starting from childhood, that you have to be friends with everyone you meet. I try to be friends with everyone, but after a while of getting to know them, I decide they're not really the kind of people I want as a friend. A lot of people confuse the word friend with acquaintance or colleague or person I hang out with sometimes. Then they are heartbroken to find that their friend abandons them when they are needed. Sunk cost fallacy. Just because you've spent a certain amount of time or energy or money on something doesn't mean you need to stick with it forever. If you're really unhappy in a relationship, don't stay in it just because you've spent the last 10 years with that person. If you're miserable at work and there's no happiness in sight, don't stay just because you put too much time and energy into it. I know a couple of people in debt because they have this mentality when it comes to gambling. If they lose $1,000, they'll gamble another $1,000 to try to win it back, since they feel they've invested so much already. Of course they lose again and feel compelled to gamble another $2,000 to break even. At some point, you just gotta count your losses and move on. Every relationship I've ever been in, I've realized I'm doing this. Just too much of a coward to initiate something as hurtful as a breakup. Yeah, but I don't think in those cases it's really the sunk cost fallacy. It's just that people see scared about being alone. They know the status quo isn't perfect or even good, but they don't compare it with what could be. They compare it to their worst fears. Spending money they don't have to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. Yeah, and you see this quite a bit, especially on social media outlets and TV. It's a quote from Fight Club, which was probably quoting someone else. Edit. Oh, I was wrong. Thanks you /toped for pointing that out. Getting married to the wrong person at the wrong age out of sheer fear of staying alone. Did that. Did not work out well. 0 tenths. Would not recommend. Same. I don't know if that's the biggest trap, but definitely procrastination is a massive one. I read an article about procrastination. They said that it helps get things done because you wait till the last minute and put all of your attention toward finishing your work. I bookmarked one of those to read later. I'm sure it's really interesting. Cultural/social pressure to get married before you're ready to be married. I have two groups of friends who married in their early 20s. One group dated for 3-4 years after high school and realized they had already built the foundations of their lives together. So they got married after college. They have a home, a child, and a goofy as cat. The other group dated for a year or two after high school and got pregnant by accident. Family pressure, religious pressure, and societal pressure made them cave and get married when they were about 22 or 23 years old. They divorced before the child was born. They absolutely hate each other. They blame each other for ruining the other's life. And their child is stuck in the middle of it. Thank God I'm part of the first group. Are you the goofiest cat?